ABCA The Roadshow is our way to showcase what is best about the ABCA. How special this coaching fraternity is, and their aptitude to share what has made them successful on the diamond. Here at the American Baseball Coaches Association, the mission is clear. We're here to educate and support our coaches around the world. We're charged with a passion for working together with our coaches, helping to grow the game of baseball in any way that we can, in every community, and at every single level. Walk with us as we pull back the curtain on a few of our loyal ABCA members while we go to their practices, inside their locker rooms, their offices. We roam their dugouts, figuring out what makes them tick. Pull up a bucket with us. This is ABCA The Roadshow.
I learned the hard way. Remember, I came from a different world to the high school coaching world. Patience, be humble, be prepared for difficult conversations. When I played, guess what? You don't play anymore.
For sure.
So you got to put that other hat on.
Yeah.
And it's about when they're playing.
No doubt.
So.
A short trip from the national office in North Carolina to a city that has always been friendly to the ABCA, Nashville, Tennessee. We touched down on the gorgeous campus of Ensworth High School to connect with proud ABCA member and USA Baseball 15U national team coach, the head coach of the Tigers, Jason Maxwell. Let's head down and catch up with Max.
Max, thanks for having us here at Ensworth, man. Thanks for having us.
It's definitely an honor to have ABCA here, have you here, man.
Appreciate
you're
it.
a famous guy, so this is definitely an honor.
Well, again, we're just honored to be in this facility, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't really kind of grill you a little bit and see if we can pull some stuff out of you.
Yeah, we can get in there.
Let's do it.
Let's get in there.
So the first place I want to start, for anybody who pays attention doesn't know who Jason Maxwell is,
yes.
Just take us through kind of your growth inside baseball, your career in baseball, and what led you to here at Ensworth.
So I'm a Tennessee boy.
Okay.
So I grew up in a small town here in Tennessee, about 50 miles south of Nashville called Lewisburg. So I attended Marshall County High School, and then I went on to play collegiately at Middle Tennessee State. And so after Middle Tennessee State, after my junior year, I was drafted by the Chicago Cubs. So I took the draft route. Wasn't an easy route for me because I was not a first rounder.
Right.
I was a last rounder.
Right.
Uphill
from there.
It was an uphill battle from day one.
Sure.
I didn't take the traditional path, so to speak.
Right.
But I took the path for me.
Right.
And so within that, obviously there's adversity. I have two boys, Jaden and Jason. I talk to them all the time about if you don't face adversity on your path, son, is it worth it?
That's a great point.
And I learned so much along the way. I learned about being a man, being a friend, being humble. All the above. Those experiences that I'll never ever regret and never ever forget.
Okay, so we get done playing professional baseball, and there's
Absolutely.
a place where, as most of us are, when our career ends, now what? And you were really charged in your heart to really think about coaching.
What's funny is I knew my path all along to coach. I didn't know where.
Yeah.
All right. So here's why, Sheets, is that coaches have given me so much growing up.
It's awesome.
Whether it's in little league, high school, college, coaches have given me so much. It's only right that I give back to what coaches have given me.
Goosebumps.
And so I didn't know where. And here comes Ensworth. Literally, I'd never heard of Ensworth.
Right.
And the athletic director reaches out to me. We're going to start this baseball program, and would you like to be a part of it? So I wasn't necessarily down the head coach. It was like a try. Do you want to be a part of this? I started this baseball program, and we started with 12 boys.
Wow.
2 of them had actually played baseball.
Love it. Humble beginnings.
You talking about humble? So I'm coming off the professional baseball soil, and I'm coming out here with 2 kids who had actually ever played baseball.
Wow.
And to make it even better is we start playing, and the first game, the best player at that time, his name is Kerry Oakley. Love him dearly.
Yeah.
Kerry Oakley gets hit in the head, gets a concussion.
Oh my gosh.
So there we go. We got one guy. And he was our pitcher, our shortstop, our best hitter.
Everything.
He was all the above.
Yeah.
And so there you go.
Wow.
That's where we started.
Gosh, okay.
So to watch this grow.
Yes, and you're talking about 13 years in the dugout, and as this thing has really grown, take me through the success this program has been able to have. How have you been able to build it to a place where we're talking about state championships coming through?
Yeah, it's been fun.
Sure.
It's been interesting. It's been humbling. It's been, I've cracked at times.
Yeah.
There have been nights that my wife has really been there for me because this has not been easy. But to get, to see where we are now and to see where we began, whew, man, we've come a long way.
So what I'm picking up is that, you don't take anything for granted. You really held on to that.
Never.
Yeah.
I never take anything for granted because you know what? We all can be replaced, right? Everybody's replaceable.
Tomorrow.
We all can be replaced. So
Yeah.
I never take anything for granted. So when I come out every day, my players know I give them everything I have.
Okay. Yeah, I can feel that.
And in return, when you give them that, then they're going to give you everything
Every
they
time.
have, right?
Gosh, okay. That's such an interesting story. So when we get to the place where we finally get to bring a banner and put it back here and talk about a championship, how was that moment for you?
You know what? That's going to be a moment for everybody.
Yeah.
And, obviously, I'm going to love it, but I think it's going to go back to that year one, those
There you
13.
go. There you go.
Right? This is for them. And still to this day, I'm a relational type of guy. And all of my players, whether they were here first year or last year, whatever, they all stay in touch.
I love that.
Right? So
Gosh.
it's bigger than baseball.
Sure.
So when that comes, it's going to be bigger than baseball. That's a moment that we're all going to relish in.
Okay.
And it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. Oh, no doubt about that. There's this move within coaching that you maybe start out early and it's ego driven and it's about wins, and your fulfillment comes from the success of your team, point blank, on wins and losses. There's a moment that most successful coaches hit where that whole thing shifts on its head and it gets really turned into player driven, relationship driven, process oriented. Do you have an aha moment, or was that kind of when you started you had it?
I always talk, to my coaches, and remind myself, like, we're never going to have another meaningful at bat.
Right.
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 So
it's over.
Check your ego when you come in the door, because as soon as you start coaching, it becomes about them instead of about you.
Wow.
Right. And so that is my moment. So here's an interesting story: is I get a phone call last year. We just lose to Memphis University School, 2-0 in the state quarterfinals. It's the game to go to the Final Four. We lose 2-0. I get a phone call from a guy, and he goes, "Man, you're gonna get you one of those state championships soon." And that moment is when, and I don't know what hit me. I go,
"Oh man!"
I go, "You know what? That doesn't define me." I said, because if I'm coaching just to win a state championship, oh boy, I've missed the boat.
No doubt.
I'm in it for the wrong reasons.
No doubt.
I said, my championships are won when I get that call that, "Coach, I'm getting married," or "Coach, thank you for everything," or "Coach, here's my son."
There's a piece of this that I think is extremely important when you think about growth as a leader. In terms of a guy that first job out of pro ball, you have to stand in front of a team and direct them and preach culture and preach a message that's going to move them down the line. And I think from year one to now, as you work through your career, how have you grown inside that space?
Crazy. You know what the first thing is? You're not playing anymore.
There you go.
Because all eyes are on you. These kids are looking at you for every bit of instruction. You got to come up, what are we working on in practice that day? Okay, writing the lineup out.
Yep.
So all that, I just came in the first year. I mean, I knew how I wanted to coach, and then all of a sudden you're coaching, and you got to plan every day.
No doubt.
Every day is a plan.
Yep.
And so you're going through this every single day. So I think I've learned how to manage practice time, to make practice time efficient. I've learned to manage personalities.
Absolutely.
If you can't manage personalities,
you can't coach.
You're not going to coach.
No doubt. A high school coach's role is so unique and at times can be thankless. And from the ABCA perspective, we have so many that make up our demographics. And when I think about a high school coach, I think your job's different than the college guy. And that's a lot of elements aside. But I think about the real having to deal with parents, having to manage the growth of a 14-year-old to an 18-year-old. That's a completely different animal in itself. How have you really come to embrace the role of the high school coach and all the things that comes with that?
And learning to embrace it is tough, but it took me a while to get there.
Right.
Or
no
to
doubt.
get here.
No doubt.
Because you're dealing with so much. You got expectations. from kids and parents. Their expectations, everybody wants to go D1.
For sure.
Everybody wants to go to D1. And there are phenomenal D2, D3, NAIA schools
No doubt.
across the country. But everybody wants to go D1. So now, here you go. So-and-so saw my kid, okay? They liked him. And so now you got to call a coach.
Right.
And sometimes the coaches don't even know who these kids are.
Right.
But they went to that camp. And so now you got to how to manage the attitudes of the personalities of the parents,
Yep.
their expectations, then you have to manage the kids.
Yep.
Honesty is the key to it all.
Yep.
So when you're honest with the kids, honest with their parents, it's difficult, and a lot of people don't like those difficult conversations.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no doubt.
Okay, but when you coach high school baseball, you're going to have difficult conversations. Because remember, in baseball, you only play 9.
Yeah.
All right, you only play 9, and everybody thinks they should start.
That's right.
Everybody should bat third, or everybody should play shortstop.
That's right.
You know how hard this is?
Sure.
So everybody has to do that.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy deal. And so you got to manage that, because at 10 years old, everybody was that guy.
Right.
All of a sudden you get in high school, there's somebody else you can play here. And so it's not unlike football and like basketball. You're not shuffling guys in and out.
Sure.
So you got to find a way to keep everybody, because you got guys on the bench. How are you going to keep those guys
Find a
happy?
role for them.
You got to find your role.
Yeah.
And the key to it is making them embrace that role. And if they can embrace that role, then you've built a team culture.
No doubt.
Right? And here's the great thing, Sheets. You have to start that over every year.
Every year. No
Every
doubt.
year.
New opportunity.
Every year.
Okay, I think if you could talk to a high school coach watching this,
Absolutely.
that's maybe in a place where, man, I'm not sure what I've gotten myself into, or they're struggling in a certain regard, what advice would you offer? Kind of empty your pockets on that.
Patience.
There you go.
You better be patient. You have to be patient in order to make it work.
You learned that the hard way.
You learned the hard way. I learned the hard way. Because remember, I came from a different world to
No
the high
doubt.
school coaching world. Patience. Be humble. Be prepared for difficult conversations.
Yeah.
But embrace leadership. And when you do that, kids will do anything for you. They're going to run through that wall for you.
Love it.
And that's what I love about coaching, is building relationships. The last thing is put that ego aside. Put your ego aside.
Say it again.
Because it's not about you anymore.
No doubt.
Remember, and I hear this all the time, and we all do,
Yeah.
is when I played,
Right.
when I played,
Right.
when I played, guess what? You don't play anymore.
For sure.
So you got to put that other hat on.
Yeah.
And it's about when they're playing.
No doubt.
So
I
you got
love
to
it.
find that way.
Dude, you're the best.
You're the man.
Thanks for letting
Steve.
us rap with us.
Hey, buddy.
You're
Anytime.
the best,
You're the man. Thank
Take
you.
it easy.
That's a ball, don't swing. That's a ball, don't swing. I'm this hitter, it's this ceiling, stay off. I'm a low ball hitter, good. And starting to understand not only balls and strikes, but strengths and weaknesses, and
helping them define who they are.
Spending some time in Nashville only jarred my memory that one of the top hitting coaches in the country spent a few years living here, but now calls New Orleans, Louisiana his new home. Travis Jewett, a former main stage speaker, a committed ABCA member, and now the head coach of the Tulane University Green Wave. We catch Big Jew on their beautiful campus right in the heart of Mardi Gras country. Turn on the big screen to hear him break down his approach to grooming elite level swings.
So, Judy, had a chance to get in the cages and do a little work with my new favorite player in college baseball, Grant Matthews, at least when I'm on campus at Tulane. And I want to show kind of what we do with these drills and what it looks like and what you're talking through with him. Now, these are the movements that you guys are talking about. This is really establishing the basis for what you're going to teach from, right?
no question. And you can see there's no ball. There's no nothing. We just put his feet together because that just initially is going to force him to go which way? Forward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So things like that. And so we can do this in the outfield. We can do this down the cages.
Sure.
And we're just working on putting our feet together and striding forward and get into a good position. And then we talk a lot about the flexion of the knees. And so we add the jump into a lot of things that we do so we can get the feeling of coming down, landing in his legs, having some bend, or being in that athletic position that we talked about. And now we've got to the center, and he's basically just igniting his swing. It's
Yeah.
almost like feel the ground, and then he starts to feel the underturn of the barrel like that, and he's just trying to keep his lead side inside of his lead hip.
And now we're going to do some tee work. Now, this is him again. Movement, hops, still
Yes.
keeping that dynamic balance, but now we're going to start really hammering the baseball.
So now we're going same drill, but all we're doing is just adding a T into it.
Yep.
Okay? That T is stationary,
Yep.
but in my mind and into our hitters' minds, it's actually moving. Because if he shows up a stride extra, it might be a little deep.
Sure.
If he shows up a stride less, it could be a little bit out front. If he shows up and his stride length says right off of my front side, then that's probably a sugar. But like, it's really cool because all the T is not moving. It actually is in terms of where he might show up to it. A little bit out front there, right? And so you see a little bit more hook and three side of the ball. But again, body in a pretty good position to turn so that he can have the ability to hook. You know what I mean?
And the beauty of it is, without really ever talking about it, and you are, is that you're creating adjustability in a swing.
No
Because now
question.
when he gets to this point, it's
Look at centered.
It's time to go.
Yeah, and his foot's down, his knees are bent. Look at that, the front foot's slightly open, which I like because it promotes flexion in the knees, and it creates a nice little tunnel for his back hip to turn through, you know what I mean? And again, he's not striding away. Look at the vision. See his hands get across the plane of his nose?
Yep.
Look at the rotational spin. Here's the barrel, and now
Dynamic balance.
Look at this
body
swing.
position.
look at the finish on balance. Nice. I mean, it's really good. Yeah, this is a flamingo stride. So notice how he's got his weight nice and dispersed. His head's over his belly button between the balls of his feet. He's probably got a pinched core, which is nice. It keeps his head over the center. His weight is evenly distributed. Where does he go? The move forces him to the center. Look at this.
Yeah.
Now this is a frame, but it's still head over his belly button between the balls of his feet. Knees are slightly bent, front foot slightly open. That's the position. So he's going to bring his feet together. He's going to lift his leg up. It's going to force him to go there. And then swing. Boom. Notice, too, the barrel strength. So it starts right there, but then when he moves, it kind of gets into that nice coiled position. You see that I'm a big bottom hand load kind of guy. I like that bat to gain some angle through his bottom hand load. And then look at the vision.
That's how you draw it up right there.
You know what I mean? And so he's really trying to train, and then he turns, and then his face can go out after, but that. So this next one is what we call hop forward, hop back. So he hop forward, he hop back, and then he strides, and then there I go again. So you can watch. Control your weight in your center mass, force him to go forward, and then we stride and jump.
Is there a focus you're giving them on the baseball? We talk about numbers here.
Certainly the 1-2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We want to try to stay off the 3 as much as we can in controlled drills.
In
you know
general.
What I mean? In general.
Yeah.
We're looking out. We're trying to look down, hands across, get the body into a good position, and do that.
Square up. Now we got some serious movement going here. I mean, we're really working up through the batter's box. We've got a lot of things moving. Talk us through this one.
Again, this is kind of our hop, hop, and land. So it's like he's like an airplane. He's just kind of landing. And notice how he's, again, controlling his masses. And then watch how controlled he is here. Now watch the nice little center move. And boom.
I love the term you used was we want to sneak up on the baseball.
Yeah.
I love this.
I'm big into like large movements, rhythm, no statues. You know, I don't like it when our hitters, the pitcher's standing there, look at the sign, and our hitters, you know, we talk about large movements. Like, you know, you want to just stand there and lick your sign. You know, we got our larger movements, and then they start to small down, and then all of a sudden they become rhythm movements, and then it keeps us relaxed. This is short bat. So you
How
see
long is this bat?
it's like 20, 26, 28.
Okay.
But it's got some pretty good, like, regular bat weight feel.
Sure.
It's got some head to it. It forces the ball to travel. You know what I mean? Look how far he lets this ball travel. That ball's right off of his stride foot. You know what I mean? That's where we're looking for it, you know? So you see the cone in the ball? That's like a be looking at me when you're done with your swing type of thing. Like,
Gotcha.
don't look out, look down. So we want to see him just see the vision. That's what we're looking for. We want to try to keep our shoulders almost over that, or vision down type of thing.
Right. Now we're back to the regular bat here.
Yep. And all we're really doing now is they're just he's moving plates.
Yeah.
And I love doing this off of flip drills. I love doing it off of machines, live arms, because I think it's our job as hitting instructors to affect the timing of our hitters on a daily basis. I think you should have timing drills.
Yeah.
I think you should see some kind of spin every day. It could be a sideways left-handed spin. It could be a, up-down curveball spin from a right-hander, but slurves and sliders and shapes and destinations. And
Wow.
do I swing? Do I not swing? What pitches are mistakes? And then probably have some kind of two-strike, battle. But anyways, just the 3 plates, it just forces him to start his swing
Sure.
sooner and smoother, so to speak. And we like to say the back plate kind of correlates a 3-pitch starter, 88, 92, fastball, slider, change. Now all of a sudden you move up, 2 things happen to the pitch, particularly when you're throwing BP and or a machine.
Yeah.
It gets firmer and
Yeah.
it gets taller.
Yep.
Which body position is going to become even more important the taller the pitch gets. Okay, this is just kind of like a little bit of like a bounce drill. So it's like he's trying to train himself to like hit off of a fastball rhythm.
And you've got this cross drill, right? We're going
Love
across
these.
the plate.
Yeah, so we call these kind of our cross tosses. And this would be like kind of, in my mind, this is what I would see as like a left on left, like cutter slider
Sure.
type,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And we're really trying to like work the middle outer third of the plate and see how he's letting the ball travel. And he's working on hitting almost through the break,
I
so
love
to
that
speak.
cue. Hit through the break.
Instead of around it, he's going to try to let it travel and hit through the break. Whoa.
Wow.
And another thing we can do is we could take that screen even to a lefty and put it on the other side,
Right.
so that now we could actually almost try to throw it like right at his belt buckle.
Sure.
And he would then have to learn how to productively stay over it, be down, look out, react in, and learn how to productively pull the ball with connection. So now the angle, instead of going away from me, it's
Yeah.
almost like a right-hander,
Yeah.
like back footing me.
That's right.
And I'm working on like almost cutting my pinky across my back pocket and productively pulling the ball, what we say, deep up the net. We try to stay short off the sides. We want to try to live up deep, up the net.
Explain this one right here. What do we got here?
This is like what I call like an A-rod drill.
Okay.
And he could probably be tucked a little bit tighter to the fence, but it's just basically like we're just trying to run balls right down the pike,
Yep.
and I'm just getting him to do that. Look at that. See how we can try to straighten the ball out? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like just really working on keeping his hands tucked up underneath him and getting that. Just like
Wow.
not pulling off early. When he really does it well and he kind of comes in, look how productive the pull is.
Yes.
Right? It's not a pull off. It's not a top spin hook. It's a I'm thinking there, and then look at that. I mean,
And
that's,
fully rotated.
yeah, through right center, like with big juice. So we can create different angles to get it going away from you, to get it coming into you.
Sure.
We can bounce it at you from either angle, right?
Right.
Because that would be a breaking ball from a,
Yep.
like so. You know, we could bounce it that way. We could take length away from you with the short bat. We could have a long bat. We can make you stride to a fastball, hit off of a fastball, get a breaking ball.
Sure.
If it's his breaking ball, which we call that's his, we check. And if we get ours,
Yeah.
then we're trying to fire, you know, and just,
Wow.
and then again, I haven't said it enough, but like, that's a ball, don't swing. That's a ball, don't swing. I'm this hitter, it's this ceiling, stay off. I'm a low ball hitter, good. And starting to understand not only balls and strikes, but strengths and weaknesses, and
Helping them define who they are.
right, to be able to train your vision, your strike zone management, and it all. I think you can only do it when you have ball coming at you. You
Sure,
know, that's
yeah.
the caveman in me, because I like a lot of, balls coming at you, because it takes a timing start and then it takes a decision-making process.
Right. Well, thank you, Travis, for being gracious host, and your
Thank
hospitality
you.
was off the charts. For us, on behalf of the ABCA, to be able to touch down here in New Orleans and spend some time with you, we wish nothing but the best of luck to what's going on here with the Green Wave, and knock it out of the park, man. We'll catch you in Omaha.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate it, man. Anytime I can hang out with you and
No doubt.
do anything that's again good for the ABCA and be a part of that, you can count me in every time. So
You're the best.
I appreciate it, and we're just gonna try to kind of keep getting our body in that position so we can turn fast and
That's it.
see what happens. So
That's awesome.
thanks for it's an honor for me because anytime, you know, we can glorify an individual maybe that we're picking out with Grant here a little
That's
bit.
right.
I think that's cool. He's earned it.
Yeah.
That we could showcase our program, maybe what we're about a little bit on the inside.
Sure.
And certainly what we stand for on the outside. It's appreciative, so thank you very much.
You're the best.
Thank you.
I get the most out of people from a leadership standpoint when I try to be myself.
I love it.
If I'm myself out here, these kids understand who I am. They understand my philosophy, and you know, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna work hard. We're gonna grind. We're gonna work harder than anybody else. But we also go about it a little bit differently.
Nestled right outside the big city of Atlanta, Georgia, is the small community of Lawrenceville, where one of the upper echelon NAI baseball programs calls home. A program still inside of its first decade of existence, but one that is heading in the right direction behind head coach and ABCA member Brad Stromdahl and his staff. Let's land this thing and go check up on the Grizzlies.
We've been fortunate enough to have the right people here. You know, when you look back at your 7 years, you've built a field out of nothing. We're continuing to change lives within, you know, the kids that we have today, our assistant coaches, our friends, the people that we're associated with within this community. It's just something that we've been very fortunate and blessed to be a part of. And it's so unique when it comes to opportunities that you have to be in college athletics nowadays.
So that first year, there was a great group of guys, just characters on that team, really loved baseball, really loved each other. They set a standard, a really high standard for the rest of the people to go live up to. So, and we built upon that foundation, and our just being new to the area, learning as we went, really. So I think we've become better coaches and learned from each other, learned from the players, and it's been this like cyclical way of going about learning from players learning from us. How do we get better every year?
I'll never forget the first time we came out here and practiced. We were already 19 games in, traveling on the road every single game. You know, we were just pumped to be here at this field. Building a program from the ground up was an experience of a lifetime, really. I had the opportunity to do it at East Georgia too, and to do 2 first-year programs was something else.
So take me back, because I'm always intrigued about when guys first get into coaching. I think there's those are some crucial years for guys, you know, in terms of lessons learned. And when you look back, take us back into who you were at 22, 23 years old.
Oh my goodness. So I had just gotten done playing Division II baseball in Southwest Minnesota for some unbelievably great guys.
Yep.
And I had an opportunity to go try out for some independent teams and, you know, kind of running the route when you get done playing and you're not quite good enough to do anything in baseball anymore. I had enough intuition to realize that I wasn't very good. And so what I did was I went back and I said, hey, coach, can I help coach? First year, man, I was so nervous in the conference tournament. I went down in the bullpen. I'm scared to death, you know, because you're still a player.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that I wanted to do this my whole life. I didn't. I wasn't there yet. I knew that I didn't want to get a real job, and a real job meant anything outside of baseball.
Right.
I mean, it didn't matter what it was. It was anything outside of baseball. And so I stayed on for another year at Southwest State. And then I was fortunate enough to catch on with the Alexandria Beatles as an assistant coach. I ended up being the pitching coach. Never pitched a day in my life. Never, didn't know anything about pitching. Sure. Man, that was fun. We just went out of the bullpen. We started some fires when it got cold. Minnesota nights.
Love it.
Had a blast. And out of that, I thought to myself, well, I could maybe do this for a living. So my first head coaching job was at 23 for the Wilson Hobbs, and it was the most humbling experience I've ever had in my entire life. I didn't
How fast was the game moving for you?
Oh, the whole thing was. It just said me. I wasn't ready in any aspect, but I wasn't ready for some things that happened off the field, not with players, but just community, politics.
Who you were then as a coach, and then who you were then as a leader. That's 2 different distinctions. So at 22, 23, who are you as a coach? Who are you as a leader compared to standing here now?
Sure, no, absolutely. I mean, who I was then, as I was a punk, snot-nosed kid that thought I knew everything, and I didn't know anything.
But how'd that come across as coaching players and also leading players?
I don't know, because I was more involved in myself and trying to get to the next level.
That's
good. From a primal from a place of honesty, I mean, the reality is that was a stepping stone for me. I wasn't invested in the kids. The kids weren't really invested in, they wanted to have some fun during the summer and play. And so there wasn't a whole lot of investment, reciprocally back and forth.
Sure.
So I probably wasn't a very good leader at all. This now is we've had a transformation here from me being the head coach over the last 7 years. I've taken all my experiences and I've been able to say, what's the best part of coaching is I get the most out of people from a leadership standpoint when I try to be myself.
I love it.
If I'm myself out here, these kids understand who I am. They understand my philosophy, and we're gonna have fun. We're gonna work hard. We're gonna grind. We're gonna work harder than anybody else. But we also go about it a little bit differently. It's a relatively non-traditional, not by the book. It's much more of a pro ball atmosphere where I just let them go and we fail. They understand the structure. They understand where they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to do. But man, a lot of the things that transfer kids come in, junior college kids come in, is they say, you've made baseball fun again. And to me, if we're making baseball fun again, laughing and chopping it up and having fun, we're on the right path. And then, you get some leadership in there from a standpoint of, it's not necessarily what you do on the field, it's what you do off the field. And that's how you conduct your business within interpersonal communications, getting to know the guy on a level that's just so deep that, you're friends forever. Like, you're involved in that guy's life from the day he steps on campus. And the funny thing is about stepping on campus is that you make a decision for the rest of your life based on a 1, 2, 3 hour
It is a unique dynamic for sure.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And so, it's something that's it's very special. So.
We talked earlier about 2015 and how that was a true aha moment for you. And I think that's the distinction as we talk with coaches about that moment where things start to really become a fountain of perspective on them, that man, this is much bigger than just wins and losses. It's much bigger than double plays and doubles in the gap. It's about really changing lives. And you had that moment. Go to that place where Lindsey Wilson's dogpiling in front of you, and how much did that really change you from that moment?
We were up. And so I think we strike the first guy out. Next guy gets a base hit. No. First guy, lead off the game, lead off the bottom of the ninth, little flare to right field.
Of course. That's how it always starts.
Directly in between the right fielder. It hits off of the right fielder who doesn't know, and we have a little bit of miscommunication. It hits off him. It hits off the second baseman who's sliding, and it goes all the way to the wall. Guy goes over there, base hit. Anyways, ends in a strikeout, pass the ball, walk off to go to the World Series. And in that moment, I remember thinking to myself, I looked at the field, and those guys, our second baseman had been here since the beginning. His name was Jared Woods. And I remember watching him in slow motion. You know how everything kind of slows down? I remember him dropping to his knees and then basically falling on his chest.
Crushed.
Just sobbing. The catcher comes running past me. And about 10 minutes later, I can't find the catcher. I'm trying to, everybody hugs. You kind of, feel the moment, and then you live the moment, and you move on. Well, he's still hugging the toilet in the bathroom.
Wow.
You know what I mean? There's this absolutely destroyed. And so in that moment, and in those moments of reflection, which was, the next hour, the next day, the next week, the next 2 weeks, the interpersonal turmoil that you have and what you have to do, it all became relatively clear. Not in the one aha moment, although it was the loss. It was, we have to change who we are as coaches so that we coach the person, and we love the person, and we love the kid, and we just let the game be the game. It's almost like you take the opposite approach that you just had, which was only about the game, trying to win the game. And then you just reel it back in and say, you know what, if we lose, it's okay. We're going to put our best foot forward. We know we're good coaches. We know we have good facilities. We know we have. But what we didn't have was that, whatever that is, that uncalculable desire and that heart and that win for, like, humanity almost, if that makes sense. Like, it's something that's very, very deep and special.
It's very deep.
And I think that we've all been on teams that don't have it whatsoever.
Yeah.
And we've all been on that weird team that freaking sings on the bus on the way home right away.
It's that
And they
true
have that
brotherhood,
connection.
family feel.
And so
for
how do
sure.
you make that? And last year's team, you know, we go
Had
to the World
that.
Series again. They had it. You know, these freshmen had redshirted. They were mad at the world because they redshirted. They thought they were better than everybody else
Right.
on our team, and they had this thing to prove. They're going to prove that they were better, and they did.
Wow.
And so I think that if you look internally into what it is and who you are as a person, you have to be more true to that than anything else. And you can take some risk on kids. You just can't take too many risky kids.
There you go.
If that
There you
makes
go.
sense.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So, and that's where we're at right now. We're going to make sure they understand who I am. They understand what the mission is in terms of class, in terms of school, in terms of, you know, the community outreach, in terms of just all of the things that we do off the field. And when we go on the field, we're going to sweat and we're going to work hard. You know what? We're going to make it fun. We're going to have fun and we're going to enjoy it. And we're going to laugh. We're going to play whatever.
How much more rewarding has it been
Oh
for
my
you?
gosh, it's unbelievable. I
Yeah.
sleep better at night. I mean, everything.
above.
Yeah, everything. You know, from my relationships with the administrators to the relationships that we have across campus to the relationship just because they're good kids.
That's right.
They're great kids, and you're helping them become great. And I think ultimately that is our goal in life, is to guide them in a direction where they can kind of emulate what it is that you've had here, what they've learned here, if you will, and basically take that into society and make it their own. Because hopefully they embody something and they find their true self. Because I think finding your true self is very rare in today's 9-to-5 world. But if they can be themselves and their true selves all the way through and through in everything they do, I think that's the part about leadership for me that I think is the true defining word and result.
Showing up here for work every day with the mountain views and the multiple fields and the facility, that's kind of the most pinch me part about being here. Between the five of us, we make a pretty good coach. And it's an awesome way to look at it, because the cool thing is when you're a college coach, you're on an island, you're by yourself.
A few short hours on the plane only piqued my excitement to spend a day in Goodyear, Arizona, at the home of the Cleveland Indians and their spring training complex, to learn from one of the best young infield coaches in the country and a loyal ABCA member. We're connecting with lower level infield coordinator Kainoa Correa to break down his journey in baseball, plus take it to the backfields and break down his philosophies on infield play.
We finally get a chance to sit down and catch up a little bit and talk through some stuff. I think it's, again, walking this facility, Kai, this has got to be a dream come true, right?
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. I think of all the parts about the job, I think showing up here for work every day with the mountain views and the multiple fields and the facility, that's kind of the most pinch me part about
Sure.
being here.
That's outstanding. I wanted to, for our guys, take us back through your history in baseball. It's such a unique story. Can you open that up a little
Yeah,
bit?
absolutely. So born and raised in Hilo, Hawaii,
Mm-hmm.
grandson of a legendary high school coach who coached all the way after serving in World War II,
Wow.
all the way to 2014, into his
Wow.
mid-90s before he passed. So he coached over 60 years, and he actually won the last territorial championship before we transitioned to statehood.
Wow.
So that kind of gives
That
you
is
a
cool.
marker of his career. And so then my father was a high school coach after him.
Yep.
And then that's kind of that family that I grew up in, where baseball was a topic at the dinner table and at Thanksgiving, and it's important. And so my after school care became their practices. And so that's kind of where I started. I went off and played Division III baseball at the University of Puget Sound in Tacoma, Washington. And then I fortunately got the opportunity to go to Northern Colorado, be the volunteer for a season, and then the paid guy for 3.
Sure.
And so that kind of leads us all the way up until joining the Indians. And every year, I think the pivotal moment I go back on is after my first season at Puget Sound, when I'm 22 years old and a first-year coach.
Mm-hmm.
I sat down and I restructured my infield program going into year 2. The things I didn't like, things I wanted to do better,
Sure.
the feedback from the guys, the on-field results, and that became tradition.
That is grooming you for
Absolutely.
a long-term
Yeah,
success in this game.
Absolutely.
Another point that comes up, we're sitting here at the Cleveland Indians facility, Kai, and you're wearing an Indians jersey.
Yeah.
And you were a average Division III baseball player.
Yeah.
Explain that dynamic, because I think, again, a guy that played Division II wasn't very good. When you think about your transition, sometimes that seems way too far off. That reality sinks in that, number one, I'm not getting drafted. I'll never have pro ball on my resume. How have you really counteracted that?
Major League Baseball is El Dorado.
Yes.
Right? It's the Golden City.
Yeah.
And so if you want to go to the El Dorado, it makes sense that you surround young guys with guys who've been to El Dorado.
That's right.
Hey, tell me about how clean the streets are. Tell
Makes
me how
total
much
sense.
gold there is and the jewelry and the spoils. So those stories and their little anecdotes are what help guide a young guy to that city.
That's right.
Right. But as player development has evolved and as organizations have become forward thinking, they've realized that they needed a merger of the content and the numbers and the science.
Sure.
Right? And those stories. Both are incredibly valuable. So those guys collectively were really, really experienced and good at navigating that journey to El Dorado.
Yeah.
Right? And having those one-on-one interactions and putting their arm around a guy or kicking a guy in the butt and providing small anecdotes and small details. And my role was to add and assist in kind of programmatic, systematic development programs for the youngest guys, the guys who are most comparable in age to the levels I've coached at, to establish good routines. And so Travis Fryman has a saying he always says, he says it once every 3 infield meetings, he says, hey, between the 5 of us, we make a pretty good coach. And that's an awesome way to look at it. Because the cool thing is when you're a college coach, you're on an island, you're by yourself.
Yeah.
You are responsible, whether it's the hitters, the pitchers, the catchers, the infielders, that's your thing.
Discuss your growth as an infield coach, as an infield teacher, because that's where I see you in this space and being at the forefront of infield coaches around the country. I firmly believe that. When I see you, I know in your heart of hearts, you're in a constant state of challenging where you're at. And that only started with that first habit of really evaluating. Yeah. Can you discuss that growth that brings us to here?
I think that growth can be summed up into a simple thing. It's using hard data, whether that's film or analytics, raw numbers, to provide more options, right? So harsh information to a softer, more flexible style of teaching.
Gotcha.
Right? Those are the 2 things. The more I got more content, the more I watched film, the more I ran the numbers, the more you saw variety. So to achieve that variety, you have to teach more options. Eventually, you're going to see a major league player do something contradictory to what you believe. A lot of guys will say, it's because he's a big leaguer, so he can do that. Boys and girls, you don't do that.
Right.
That's a cop-out to me.
Yep.
Right? Instead, I decided, let's dig more. If I can find one guy doing this, I've got to be able to find 20 guys doing this. I've got to find 20 guys doing this 20 times. Then once I find 20 guys doing this 20 times, what are the commonalities with that move? So now that's no longer a strange outlier.
Yeah.
That's a technique. That can be added, right? And so I think my expansion as a coach, my growth as a coach, has come by adding different golf clubs every year.
That's right.
I still got the same driver. Still got the same putter, but we filled in a lot of the gaps, right? And that's and we filled it in with hard data.
I love it.
And so that's kind of my thought process and how this development has happened.
So when we get into infield play, I'd love to get you on the field and talk through some stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got all these fields right here. You want to head down and do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's knock it out. Now we're upstairs talking about variability, and we're talking about having options for infielders. And let's start on the very micro side of this. So in terms of us walking out to practice and things we can work with our guys on the micro side, what are you going to offer?
One thing that nearly every infield coach in the country does is some type of pick work.
Right.
Some type of short hop work, whether it's stationary, standing, or kneeling.
Right.
So when I was growing up as a kid, everybody did some kind of kneeling glove work.
Sure.
Right? And you had 2 schools of thought in infield. You had the school of thought that you were going to press through as many things as you could, right? Or you were going to funnel to soften the blow.
One or the other. Yeah.
And coaches believed one or the other and didn't believe in the opposite.
That's right.
What I slowly learned to believe is that you do both, right? There are plays that you have to press through and there are plays that you have to funnel. There are plays you have to go one-handed, there are plays you have to go two-handed. So the idea would be integrating that into your pick series. So the first thing I do when I alter my pick work is I create a constraint, right? So I want to create a physical barrier that puts a guy in good posture. 8 to 10 inches out in front of the fielder's knees, and I say, hey, everything we do, whether we're moving forward or backward, it has to be fielded in front of
Gotcha.
it. So that constraint is going to correct posture. So now, if I'm upright, or I'm lazy, or if I'm slouched, or if I have a curve in my back, I really have to extend my hand forward to make a catch, which is going to feel uncomfortable.
Right.
So what I learned to do is I learned to get that shoulder tilt forward. Right? So when I have good shoulder tilt, my shoulders will take me right in front of this line, and now I very easily can present in front of it. So we're always going to go up off our feet.
Gotcha.
Right? Have our butt a little bit pointed backwards, have our shoulders tilted forwards, and have a flat back.
Gotcha.
Right? So one great way to start kneeling work is to go barehanded.
Okay.
Right? I love Valley training gloves, but barehanded is that's the best, most affordable training glove there is in the market.
No doubt.
Right? One of the reasons I like barehanded is because every move is intensified.
Okay.
Right? So if I'm a flat presenter, it's very obvious. There's no shot I can field it. Right? When I'm an open presenter, I'm showing the amount of surface area necessary to catch the approaching ball.
Sure.
Right? So we're simply going to start with short hops, and we're just going to go to the catch.
Gotcha.
So I'll explain as we go. So a couple things you're going to notice. I want the swing to be as subtle as possible.
Yeah, you're very loose, very relaxed.
Yeah. So instead of going a one uniform swing like that, which a lot of guys do in their pick drills, that's extreme. And why this is extreme is that I'm creating a lot of direction that way that's unnecessary. And also, the farther I take the ball away from me, the longer it's got to come back to eventually exchange it.
Absolutely.
So if I can go soft and subtle, I can become more repeatable, and I have a better chance of capturing the ball. A couple other keys here. Watch my head. I'm going to bury my chin on glove contact. That's going to keep me stacked. If I don't bury my chin, I have a chance to come out of posture.
Right.
But by burying my chin, I keep that shoulder tilt and hip hinge the same. Right? So just that simple move open. The last thing is there's no closure of the hinge. So I don't do this. Right? I'm not going to allow that ball to ride up. Once I make that stop, my palm is still open and facing the direction in which the ball came. Right? So we went purely to the catch. Now we'll go to the center or the separation. Right? So center and separation is something that's important to me, because that establishes a consistent exchange point. And by establishing a consistent exchange point, that means my arm swing is going to take the same amount of time, and it's going to make it easier for me to sink my feet and my hands up. If I allow where I catch the ball to dictate where I exchange it, then I'm adding another variable into the equation, and it's going to be hard for me to sink my feet
Absolutely.
up. Right? If I catch one off right of center, it's going to be quicker, right? And then my arm's going to be early. If I catch one far off on this side and I have to let my feet travel, then my arm's going to be late. But I'm just going straight to that center point. And when I get to center, it's thumb to thumb, right? It's thumb to thumb, right? Because it's going to create an option for me to take it out.
Gotcha.
So short hop to center, right? So now we're at one hop type and a second move. Now we're going to add a second hop type. He's going to start rolling the ball.
Okay.
On a rolling ball, go ahead, roll it. I'm not worried about shortening that hop, right? I don't need to press through it to contain it. I don't need to press through it to increase my catch rate.
Right.
So my thought process there is I can start to merge those two acts together.
Gotcha.
Now, funneling has a really bad reputation for guys who teach pressing, because they think about it as letting the ball get way too deep.
Absolutely.
Affecting posture. But by building in this constraint, I can police that when I funnel and when I press, I still catch the ball in the same spot.
That's it.
Out in front of the window.
That's it.
Right? So if I were to freeze at a funnel, and I were to freeze at a press on a short hop, that catch point is going to be the same spot.
Right.
Right? So the reason why the coaches who didn't like funneling for its negative action can be erased. From there, we're talking about exchange. Right? So if I can establish a uniform exchange point, then I have just a really simple move to get to the throwing position, the power position or separation. Right? So I just got to take it out right from the center, thumb to thumb, and just pull that bow back, and I'm there. Got a nice little tight infield arm circle.
Yep.
So now we're going to go 2 hop types all the way to the throwing position.
Gotcha.
So a couple keys here is I'm using my eyes to pick up my eventual target, but I'm keeping my shoulder tilt the same. I'm still establishing the same center and the same catch point, and I'm reacting based on that. Now I'm going to introduce a third hop type.
Okay.
That little high hop, that top shelf hop, that ball that bounces up above your waist. So you got to go from fingers down to fingers up, right? But it still should be the same style of catch, the same style of exchange. Now this is unique, right? Because I'm not necessarily going to have to push this one forward.
Right.
right? But I don't necessarily want to get too far back, so I'm catching it somewhere in between, still out in front of this line, right? If it's inside of my shoulders and my hips, I'm going to use 2 hands for it, just like I would that rolling ball. If it's outside my shoulders and the hips, I'm going to use 1 hand for it because it's faster and more efficient. It's a safer way to secure the catch.
Sure.
So you're going to go short hop, rolling ball, high hop in a row, all the way to the power position. Okay, here we go. But I'm reacting, right? So I'm starting down in that same presented spot every time, and then I see it up, and then I go. Some of them are one-handed plays. Some of them are two-handed. Some of them are more forward than others. Some are more backward than others. But I'm still making that same decision. I'm still burying my eyes in the leather, and I'm still maintaining posture the whole time. Now, taking this 1 step forward, this isn't going to happen sequentially in the game.
Sure.
So he's been going sequentially, so what we're going to do is just mix it up. Sometimes he's going to give me short, sometimes he's going to give me rolling ball, sometimes he's going to give me a top shelf. I have to react.
I love it. Now, can we move into, again, that's a micro side of things. That's a short option-based prescription drill for infielders. Now, we're going to think macro here because there's a transition from us living here inside this drill series to now getting in the game. And I know in our talks we talked about the fact that, you know, a lot of coaches just bear down on some of the basic things in infield play that every infield coach would know, but we're not talking situational awareness. We're not talking what really shows up in the game.
Yes, so in one sense, if you think about this, this is a series of decision making. You're allowing the hop to decide whether you go forward or backward, use 1 hand or 2 hands. The game is just an expansion of that. That's also a series of decisions. Do I put it in my pocket or do I make the throw? Do I jump throw to second or do I set my feet and throw to first?
Sure.
That's determined by the score, the out, the inning, the speed of the runner, and all those dynamics involved. So there are fun ways that you can transition from a drill like we just did into another stationary drill by incorporating different types of balls that represent different runner speeds or different directions to start triggering those decisions.
Break it down for us.
All right, so in talking about ways where we can expand on that style of decision making, one of my favorite things to do is incorporate different balls.
Okay.
So why I like different balls is because they all react differently. They have different weights. They have a different level of bounciness. And so they intensify the 3 hop types that we were talking about with the baseball. One thing you can do when you were asking questions about making decisions, you know, like based on pace, is you can associate different things with the different balls. So in this case, we're going to go the different balls mean different runner speeds. So I've got 3 types of balls. We've got a wiffle ball, we've got a tennis ball, we've got a racquetball. You can do it with any type of ball, or you can color baseballs, whatever you want to do it. The wiffle ball in this case is going to be a slow runner. The tennis ball is going to be an average runner, and the racquetball is going to be a fast runner.
Okay.
Right, and so I'm going to do my footwork in terms of my post-field movement based on the runner speed I've evaluated. So it's getting my mind used to using my eyes to determine what pace I'm going to choose.
Really speeding up the game in between their ears.
In addition to that, he's still going to give me different hop types like I was when we were doing the stationary drills. Now, to add a wrinkle to this, right, and to really trigger that post-field move being a little bit more direction in terms of creating distance and direction, as Perry Hill would call it, I'm going to just do a little rocker step. I'm going to do a little toe up.
Okay.
So I'm going to start in a stationary position. I'm going to have my toe up.
Now, why is that? Just create a little rhythm in their feet?
Yeah,
or?
and so that way, as I make the move to field the ball, I'm going to descend my toe. I'm going to send weight into this left leg, and that's going to really trigger me to take my right to my left and my left to the right.
Gotcha.
When I do a stationary drill, what happens a lot is your guys, as they do it over and over, the steps get smaller and smaller, and the move gets more and more upright. Right, and that's going to lead to some pretty bad habits. So this drill, in terms of triggering your toe up, is a really nice bridge from taking a guy stationary to on the move.
Love it.
So we're going to start in this stack position, and we're going to start with the slow runner. Here we go. Right, so I see that it's a wiffle ball. I know that he's slow. I take my time. I can go 4-step alignment. I can tap. I can no tap, whatever you want to do. Okay, so now we'll go to an average runner with the tennis ball. I can do a sped up version of the 2-step, or I can do a slow version of the 1-step. Again, one more. Right, simple as that. And then the racquetball, that's going to be the toughest one to catch and exchange. That's going to be our fast runner. Right, so I really got to get it and go. Here we go. Just a little 2-step pattern every time on the racquetball because I've established that he's fast.
So you're going 2-step, 4-step? Is that your language?
So 4-step would be the slow guy every time.
Yep.
And then an aggressive 4-step with an average runner on a ball that's well struck.
Right.
Or it's kind of looser 2-step. And then a good runner is 2-step every time.
Gotcha.
Now, a lot of guys ask me about this. Hey, does it make them slow? Hey, does it promote rhythm? Really, it's all about creating adjustability.
That's it.
So you decide based on your student, the level of player, the type of athlete he is. Is he a guy that needs to be sped up, whether it's throwing, hitting, fielding, tempo of practice, or is he a guy that needs to be slowed down? So now we're gonna evolve this, and we're gonna go random order. So I'm gonna have to react with my eyes based on what ball he feeds me and make a determination from there. Here we go.
Fast runner there. Slow runner right there. An average runner there, right?
Yep. Evolving that, another step forward, is making decisions about direction.
Okay.
In the game, sometimes I gotta go to 2, sometimes I gotta go to 1, sometimes I gotta go 4, right? So the ideal flexible scenario, right, the most flexible scenario that I like to put an infielder in this type of drill is 1st and 3rd, playing halfway.
Okay.
Okay, so 1st and 3rd, and we're playing halfway. So when we're in 1st and 3rd and playing halfway, if I get a ball that's hard hit,
Double play.
I'm probably going 2.
Yep.
Right? Turn 2, get out of it. We've made that determination. If we wanted to go 1 on everything, we would have played all the way in.
That's it.
Okay? If the ball is hit without pace, right? So it's chop or slow, now I'm either going to go there or reading whether he was on a contact play.
No doubt.
So that's why I call it the most flexible position an infielder gets in, because that's one of the only times that he could go 1 of 3 spots. The racquetball is going to be home.
Okay.
Tennis ball is going to be 2. Wiffle ball is going to be 1.
Gotcha.
So now I'm going to make a determination with my eyes based on which ball he rolls me, which direction I'm going to go. All right, here we go.
That's great. So now we got variability inside the actual balls we're using. Again, create a drill that gives us these game situational awareness.
Do I use one hand or do I use 2 hands?
Yeah.
Do I go forward or do I go backward? Do I go fast or do I go slow?
Yep.
Do I go to home or 1st or 2nd? Now I'm creating a physically versatile infielder who can do all those directions and those tasks, and a mentally agile infielder
There it is.
who can make the decision between the 3.
Wow.
Now, fun alterations. So some people don't like balls. They rather do baseballs because we play with baseballs. I understand that argument.
Sure.
Take your baseballs, mark them with different colors.
There you go.
Right? If you don't want to do that, some people are like, hey, we're going to make this decision based on what we hear. 1-1-1 from the catcher, 2-2-2.
Now, I know being here at Cleveland, you're privy to a lot more numbers, data, analytical stuff than we would if we were college coaches or high school coaches. And I know in really you studying exactly what your guys see in game, that's really helped maybe change the way that we think about hitting fungos to guys, the way we transition these guys in terms of the type of ground ball.
Yeah, we'll walk over there, hit some ground balls, and we'll talk about the numbers that each guy get and how we can replicate them.
Let's do it.
When we were talking out there, we were talking about making fungos more game-like.
Sure.
Using data and incorporating information.
Right.
Right. So we're going to start just by hitting some ground balls to 3rd base. So we'll just hit the run-of-the-mill ground balls that we see most college coaches hit or amateur coaches hit. So just nice little backspin ground balls, 2 to 3 hops. Go ahead, Sheets. Hit a regular ground ball. Right. So that's the really common ground ball we'll see. Right. It's not necessarily a high degree of difficulty.
Right.
Not necessarily a huge discrepancy in regard to the spin and the pace, right? So if you had to guess, would you have any idea what an average major league ground ball is in terms of speed? Exit velo.
Exit velo, man, we got to live on a hard ground ball average. I'm thinking we're 85 to 70 to 80 maybe, somewhere in there.
So most major league ground balls live somewhere in the upper 70s and low 80s.
Okay.
Right? To the corner infielder, starting to a 3rd baseman, your average ground ball is 81, 80 miles per hour.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
So a little slower. Right? Another unique thing with a 3rd baseman is that your average launch angle is steeper. It's a negative 18.
Right.
Right? So that initial hop, it's going to be inside of 20 feet. It's going to be inside of a 1/3 of the way to the mound.
Wow.
Okay, and then the last thing you need to know when you're hitting to a 3rd baseman is that majority of the balls, over 88%, are topspin. So although a backspin fungo, might be aesthetic.
Sure.
Right? It might look good when I hit infield, outfield in front of the other team.
That's right.
It's unlike ground balls he gets in the game. It's unlike less than 12% of the ground balls he gets in the game. And in fact, over 88 are going to be really ugly. They're going to be hooked. They're going to be topspin.
Right.
Right? So one thing, when we're manipulating ground balls, especially to the corner infielder, we're going to want to create some topspin. So we can roll our wrists.
Yep.
We can throw that thing away. So go ahead, Sheetsy, mix in some topspin ground balls. So that's pretty good. So now that's extreme, right? We got to figure we're going like negative 45 degrees there. So we try to go topspin and then a little further away. So see if we can do it. All right, that was weird spin. Go ahead.
Okay.
That's pretty good,
Yep.
right? So we get the picture.
Yes.
And no matter where you split it, when you look at the hard numbers, a backspin ground ball, aesthetically pleasing backspin fungo is unrealistic.
Just does not show up in a game.
A third baseman, he's gonna get over 80% of his ground balls from right-handed hitters.
Sure.
Right? The shortstop, he's gonna get over 75% of ground balls from right-handed hitters. Right? The second baseman, he's gonna get over 66% of his ground balls from a left-handed hitter.
Sure.
And the first baseman, he's going to get over 80% of his ground balls from a left-handed hitter.
Right.
Right? So the majority of ground balls we get are from the pull side infielder. Right?
Makes sense.
So if you're a right-handed fungo hitter and you hit backspin ground balls to the first baseman, you're hitting him right-handed backspin ground balls, something he gets less than 5% of the time.
Wow.
So if he only takes ground balls from you for the whole season,
Yeah.
he's preparing for 5% and not getting the other 95%.
Then we got to flip that model and give him more topspin ground
Exactly.
balls.
So now giving him more topspin ground balls gets you more like spin, but still doesn't match the handedness. It'd be
Sure.
like facing a right-handed BP thrower and having to hit against 90% lefties in the game.
Gotcha.
All right, it's very contradictory. So what are ways we can fill that in, right? What are the ways we can make those balls more game-like, right? One of the ways, using other coaches, right?
Okay.
If we got a lefty outfield coach, lefty catcher coach, whatever, on staff, left-handed pitching coach, getting them to hit fungos to the right side of the infield.
That's it.
Utilizing pitchers, right? So having a pitcher who's right and left-handed hit to each side every day during BP.
That's
right?
great.
And then the third way, utilizing shapes, right? So I can go from here, I can go that way and hit across to the first baseman.
Right.
So it's more like lefty spin, so I can hit top spin from that angle, and I can go that way and hit it into the four hole and create these different directions and different spins.
Sure.
Then going straight on as a righty, right? I can do the same vice versa for the third baseman. All right, and then the last way you can create realistic shape for your ground balls is by using BP.
Okay.
And remembering that most teams go on a rotation, right? So it goes like defense to base running to hitting.
That's right.
Hit, to cage to here. So every time somebody's on the field, a group's hitting. So you can sync that up.
Mm-hmm.
If your starting second baseman and your starting first baseman are in groups, BP groups that are primarily right-handed, they're not going to get a ton of balls off the bat.
That's right.
Right? So you want to sync up lefties, whether they're left-handed outfielders, left-handed first baseman, whatever it may be, and
give these
have them
guys.
hit when that rotation is on defense.
No doubt.
Right? So they get those game-like reps. The same vice versa right-handers.
And that's all we're doing. That's all we're talking about is taking the data, taking what's being told to us with real data and saying, now, how does this incorporate into our practice plan? How does this work within, again, the individual skill development of each of our players? How can I replicate what shows up in game? That's basically what it is.
100%.
That's outstanding. Again, Kai, thanks for letting us hang out with you, man. This has been awesome. What a great opportunity.
My pleasure.
Thanks for being part of what we do.
No problem.
We don't have to go many places for what we need, so it's a one-stop shop. We're a high academic institution, and we take advantage of the fact that these guys are sharp mentally and learn a specific way.
Wheels up and back to Nashville for one more stop, touching down on the elegant campus of Vanderbilt University as we pull back the curtain on the Commodores, getting the behind-the-scenes view of their top-notch facilities that surround Hawkins Field, learn the history of the program, plus visit with each of their coaching staff.
So we're touching down at Hawkins Field in Nashville, Tennessee. Let's see if we can't get in here and get a sneak peek of what Vandy's got to offer us. Come on. Oh for 1, that's okay, as baseball guys know. You keep checking gates, you'll find an open one. Keep coming. Here we go. Welcome to Hawkins Field. Pretty nice welcoming party. Let's go see if we can't catch Tim Corbin. If I know Corbs, he's probably still in the dugout. Let's go check him out. The last gate is open. Hawkins Field, baby. This is nice. Let's catch Corbs. If there's any place we catch you, you'd be here in the dugout.
Look what the cat dragged in. Gee.
Hey, Coach.
How you doing?
Great, how are you?
Good to see you.
Great to see you too.
Glad to be here.
What a gorgeous facility, my friend.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Can we walk out and we talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's head out there.
Sure.
Okay, so we're looking at this gorgeous facility here. I'm just interested in the history of it. Talk me through how this thing's really come together for you.
Well, it was here when I was here. I mean, the general layout is the field itself has been here for many years, but it was designed 1 year prior to me, so they reconfigured it. They kind of pushed it back because this was very tiny. It was actually sitting a little bit closer to the football stadium.
Okay.
But then they pushed it out. They pushed the fences back, and Memorial Gymnasium here. I think what's unique to Vanderbilt is all 3 venues are tied in together.
That's
and
right.
we use all the concession stands. So you got football, basketball, and baseball. But the stadium itself grew 2 years into it, I think about 2006. We had seating up until 2006, seating for about 1,000. And then what they did, Sheets, is they pushed the seating beyond the dugouts on into left field and right field a little bit, as you can see.
Yeah.
And then the seating beyond, that came well after. That was a 2008, 2009 project. So we got more seating in the outfield, which took the place of the bleachers, the portable bleachers that we brought in for the regionals.
Right.
And then we built the facility down left field back in 2006. That was kind of where our locker room still is. That was where our classroom initially was until the new facility went up there in left field.
Yeah.
Field itself, we renovated a few years ago. Back in 2013, we put turf on this field for the first time. Dan McDonald had talked me into it because I wasn't for it. I was all about grass and dirt.
Sure.
But also understanding of what December and January days are in Nashville and how the thaw comes up from the ground and makes the dirt not practicable, if there's such a thing. So we went to the turf, and it's probably the best thing we did. I mean, you operate more like a basketball coach in the fact that when you get out here, you can accomplish whatever you need to do. And aesthetically, it looks clean, but I would also say aesthetically, inside it's clean because you don't bring in anything with you.
I'll tell you something that's really unique about Vanderbilt's surface, and I know you did this on purpose, but you kept the character of the old field in the ways that you guys would run the drag off the field, right?
We did. We kept the dirt sections the same.
Yeah.
You had those lanes, I guess, going from first base on into the warning track, down the first base line, and the lane going off third base side down the left field line. So everything that way is the same. We tried to keep it the same so that if an older season ticket holder came in and looked at it, they wouldn't notice a difference. Someone would have to tell them, they put turf down. And I think for a lot of them they did. We got the fungo circles. But we managed the turf in the way that we wanted it, and in the way that we thought it was fair to both sides, offense and defense. And Gene Stevenson at Wichita State was, he stimulated that because I went to go see his field, and when I came back, I basically said to AstroTurf that I just want to replicate their field, and it's played well for us.
Wow. Now I'm noticing a couple new things out in left field. There's a big board staring at me. There's also some see-through wall. There's a new wall out there, Corbs. Talk us through that.
The video board, that went up about a year and a half ago, and we needed that just because we had an old scoreboard that sat in left field. But the video board is very pleasant to the fans. It's good size. Not sure how big it is, but it's big enough to where it's certainly a presence, and you got the Hawkins Field arch over it.
Right.
And then to its right, you have the wall that still exists, but the wall was just tin and aluminum before, and when we put in the new facility, what we did is we took the old batting cages and we renovated them.
Right.
And now what you have is essentially a 3-story building that encompasses our office space and a lot of other ancillary spaces for the players and the team that we can now utilize. So we're kind of, you got a lot of square footage inside, which is nice. We don't have to go many places for what we need, so it's a one-stop shop.
Wow. You know what else is in that building that I'm very intrigued by, I think our watchers would be as well, is that classroom. You want to go check it out?
Oh yeah, we'll see that.
Let's do that.
All right.
Let's go check it out. Oh, wow. Here it is, the infamous Vanderbilt baseball classroom.
This is it.
Take me through how you guys utilize this space and really how important it is to what's going on here with the program.
Well, we start every day here. Guys get in here at a certain time, which is usually in the afternoon. They take their seats. The seats are all assigned at the beginning of the year. So in the first meeting, when they get to their seat, they have a notebook, and inside the notebook is plenty of paper and pens and highlighters. Then I just go right over to the podium and then I start. And you know, from that point right there, that's really how our day starts. It starts in here and then it flows to on the field.
Sure. And we're spending some time in this classroom with your guys. You're breaking down practice, you're breaking down the fundamentals inside how you're going to play, right, from a baseball perspective?
Yeah, it's a progression. That first meeting, there's probably not a whole lot of conversation about baseball.
Right.
It's more about how the program's going to function, how the organization's going to function, how we want to function inside of it. As the weeks progress, there becomes more baseball being taught in here, but the baseball part of it really doesn't get going until maybe the 3rd or 4th week.
Wow. And we're moving well past baseball in a lot of these teachings in this room. I'm thinking that we're getting into life skills, we're getting into character building, right?
Yeah, individual growth first and then team development, but there is a there's an outcome to them leaving school, and I think this environment right here goes hand in hand with Vanderbilt. I mean, it's not for everyone, but just for Vanderbilt, I mean, we're a high academic institution, and we take advantage of the fact that these guys are sharp mentally and learn a specific way, and because they learn in this way, it makes sense. But this, for me personally, goes back many years. I mean, we did this ever since we've started here at Vanderbilt, but now this is a fully functioning classroom space.
That's great. I'm glad I got to see it firsthand. This has been fantastic. Thanks for opening your doors to this. I'm going to go try to find Coach Baxter, check out the hitting cages, but I'll catch you back down on the field.
You got it.
All right. Thanks
brother.
Corbs. Appreciate it. Okay, so they're telling me there's some cages around here somewhere. Let's go downstairs and see what we can find. Come on.
How are you doing?
Good to see you too. You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man.
Awesome. Thanks for having us here, man.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Excited to be here. No doubt. Now, again, you played here. Did you have something like this when you played here?
No, we just had we had one cage underneath the football stadium where the pitching lab is now. So I've seen a lot of renovations here, but this is a lot nicer than what we had back then.
What was kind of the mission? Again, great setup, phenomenal setup. 3 long tunnels, got one here as well. Kind of what was the idea behind this setup here?
Functionality, you know, for a larger group. You just wanted a place where the guys could come in and feel at home, and it's all wired for sound, and he wanted them to be able to come down here and spend time comfortably and feel like they could get better.
When you get an opportunity with your team to do your offense is all in here, how would you set things up? How would you structure a practice session inside here with all your hitters? How would you go about that?
If we have everybody down here at one time, then generally we'll use all 4 cages. I like to get on the machines a lot, so we have the home plate machine there, which is one of my favorites, and then the spin ball. We just got 2 of those this year, and they're excellent. One of my favorite machines down here to recreate pitches. So we'll usually have 2 machine segments going. We'll have one of the coaches throwing BP, and then in this cage we usually focus on skill work in here. So we'll keep this junior hack attack out. We like to get the guys in here to get their bunts down and get really focused on that. We try to use the machines to get as game-like reps as we can, and we also want the guys to get their normal reps and just feel good. So we'll get some BP for them too.
That's outstanding. You know, a really cool dynamic just walking through here. It's hard to miss that there is a large left field wall right above our shoulders here. Can you talk about this dynamic here?
Yeah, the great touch. And I think as you go through the whole facility, like I was talking about, you see attention to detail, you see an ode to the past, the guys that created the program. I think that was a big part of the planning process. And there's a lot of dents on that wall, and every dent has a story.
That's right, no doubt.
So a lot of good hitters put dents in that wall, and it's really cool to see that Coach Corbin kind of reclaimed it and put it down in this space. And I think it adds a really nice element to the space down here.
Absolutely. It brings it home and help your players remind that we're making upgrades out there. Let's never forget where we came from.
Exactly.
I think that's an awesome element as well. All right, well, Michael, thanks for showing us your space. We appreciate the hospitality, man.
Thanks for coming,
again.
Chief. Good seeing you, buddy.
My pleasure. Let's see what else I can get into.
All right, cool.
We're just going to keep opening doors till we find the legendary Vanderbilt pitching lab. Let's try out here. Makes sense. Let's try P for pitching. Give that a shot. Wow. Coach Brown.
Hey, Sheets.
What's up, buddy?
How you doing?
Great. How are you doing?
Man, great to see you.
Good to see you as well. Awesome lab here, man. This is great.
Pretty luxury to have this. I mean, it's incredible here. Just the space down here below the football stadium.
That's outstanding. You mind showing us around a little bit?
Let's take you around. Let's do it.
So this is my first time down in this pitching lab, and this is such a neat dynamic because you hear about the Vanderbilt pitching lab. Can you take us back the history of this thing coming to fruition?
This is Coach Derek Johnson's baby. I believe back in 2005, 6 in that range. I'm not 100% sure on it. This used to be the batting cages for the team when Coach Corbin first got here. And when they built that new building upstairs, which is existing on the left field line right now, that was kind of that first building that we had. Coach Johnson had a vision and built this into a pitching lab. If you look quickly behind us, we've added a couple plow walls. We like to throw the plow balls and do stuff like that. So we've added those here in the last couple of years. We've also added like a turf dry area mound that we call it, that was built where we can do some different dry work setups. That's that like synthetic dirt that doesn't really require any water and is tamped up, and the catching area and stuff. The ace wall, that I think was Coach Johnson's really like his thing. That he had built this concrete wall for the med balls and probably some arm care stuff.
Now, here's what's really cool. Again, being in an SEC, a Power 5 school, you have the capability to really make this area what you want. And part of that has been your adaptation to technology. Can you talk through some of the technologies that you've kind of brought into this?
We have the Rapsodo. We have a radar gun with a radar gun display.
Yep.
We're fortunate enough to have the Edgertronic camera, which shoots 1,000 frames per second. So we do a lot of different stuff with that as far as pitch design, pitch development. The cameras with the video coordinator, he just sets them up wherever I ask him to. So it's
really cool. Okay, so I'm looking at this area, man, and again, you're going to have, let's say, 17, 18 pitchers on your staff this year? Mm-hmm. Okay, now if we had to come down here as a pitching staff, how would you coordinate an effort in here to keep these guys moving and shaking?
Well, first thing you notice when you come down here is guys get right to their soft tissue stuff. After that, then they kind of evolve into what's theirs, their band work, if they're throwing plow balls. The music, if you look at that little boombox, that thing will be bumping. Like, that's the big thing we try to do every day is the environment. If it's a recovery day, then Mozart might be playing and it's a little bit less, and we're trying to just get through our range of motions and stuff like that. But if we're turning it up, that thing's going to be bumping, and the rule is first man down here puts his music
whatever
on.
He wants.
Whatever he wants. We all live with it. So if you don't like it, get here earlier.
That's it.
So,
what would a young Scott Brown have done with Mozart?
I don't know if I would even know what that is, actually, to tell you the truth. I just, it's a good question.
We ask the tough questions here at ABCA. When you're looking at this area, let's say you do have a system within your practice schedule. How many guys might be down here at a time? In terms, especially if we're doing bullpens, how would they be kind of coordinating their time?
There might be 6 to 8 guys down here with him or the strength coach or the trainer. We just try to find time for them to get their arm care in if they're not doing skill work with me.
Sure.
So, and if they're not down here, they're usually up in the weight room too. So we kind of split it up. Coach has been really great with me as far as just not, having pitchers stand out there and shag. We just don't do that. We try to really be efficient with our time on those guys and stuff. So it helps.
The way you just described it, it is a lab. We're down here working.
It is, and it's sometimes it's I guess you could think of it as people look at it as like a technology lab, but it's not really. I think the pure fundamental and foundation of it is just kind of a dungeony I don't know, Spartan-like.
Got it. So Brownie, thanks for showing us around the pitching lab a little bit. We're going to keep roaming these hallways, see what else we can't get into.
Oh, it's great to have you here. Thank you.
Thanks, man. This is it. We're here. Hammer,
Hey,
what's
man.
going on, my man? Great to see you.
Yeah, you doing all right?
Yeah, doing great. Thanks for having us.
No problem.
Really appreciate it. Get a chance to check out this big time weight room, man. So I've been dying to check this out and talk this through with you because I know you had a hand in designing this whole place. Can you take us through that?
Absolutely. So when they redid the whole facility, which you've been through today,
Yeah.
we were blessed to gain some more space through here. So we gained some more on the office side of the building. We gained some more going that way too.
Sure.
So we know it's not the most vast space in the building, but we tried to be as efficient as we could with what we have here too. And that leads me to like the design of this place. Every rack correlates with the power block. Every rack has a set of bands. Everything.
Sure.
You should be able to complete a workout within a rack. So
Wow.
I'm not having to go from one end of the weight room to the other just to get a set of dumbbells, because what you see on these power blocks right here is everything that you see on that back wall. So I'll have 3 to 4 guys to a rack. That way I can keep them in one space and keep it managed and everything like that. So
that has real functionality to what you.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. With this and the space we have, I'll try to keep it in 2 groups, hitters and pitchers.
Gotcha.
For me, it's easier to keep an eye on both groups, and
Sure.
I handle them differently and accordingly based on position and what they do and things like that. So that'll help me keep things manageable and help me use some of this new equipment that we got.
Well, let's open this up because these are different than the racks and we had when we were playing.
Right.
And I'm looking at them going, I'm not sure what we're measuring and talking about and tracking. So can you open that up?
Well, just like you probably talked to Brownie about all the technology that he has and stuff like that. Well, we're doing the exact same thing here. So
love it.
Anything that we can track and help the development of our guys and help them get a visual of what they're doing.
Sure.
That's exactly what we're doing up here. So we measure fastballs, we measure exit velocities, launch angles, like you name it, like we track it. Well, we can do the same thing in the weight room too. So the Elite Form up here on our rack will help me set parameters on the workout. So it's not the old school whiteboard workout anymore.
Exactly. Yeah,
Our guys will come in, they'll sign in, their workout will be up there, and within that workout, I'll have certain parameters on that. If I need to work on it's a power day or it's a velocity-based day, I can set parameters within that program. The guys will get immediate feedback. So if they hit the numbers that I give them, that screen is going to stay green. Well, if they don't hit that number, it goes red. So it's immediate feedback. They either got to change the weight, they got to change their intent, or we need to look at some kind of form when it comes to that. So
you mentioned trying to vary in your groups, having hitters at one time, offensive guys, and really dealing with the pitching staff separately. Let's say one of those groups was in here. How would you maybe set up a particular lift for those guys?
Pitchers in particular, I put them in buckets. Like I'll base that off assessments on previous injury, where they're at during the course of the season, what their role is, things of that nature, where they're at in development-wise, how many years they've been here, and things of that nature. So I'll sit down with those guys, and based off that assessment, I got those guys in racks.
Yeah.
So guys that have similarities and things like that need to work on, I got a different program over here. So if you come up here, it looks like madness, but I promise it's organized. Like there's 7 different programs going on at once. Like there's 3 or 4 guys doing certain things. It looks like madness, but I promise it's organized.
Sure, that is cool. This is impressive, man. And again, it's got a lot of cool features to it. I think the neatest part is exactly what you need. It's not any more, it's not any bigger than what you need. It's exactly what you guys need for your team.
It's functional, it's efficient. I mean, we go right out these doors. I can get on the turf field. We can do our running out there.
Wow. And this obviously plays a huge role in success. It shows up on the diamond.
And it's nice for these kids too. They come in here, they check in, we do some assessments. They get their work in, they go to practice, and it's a great way for them to start the day.
Off and rolling. Thanks for the hospitality. Thanks for letting us check this out. We got more things to go check out.
Perfect, man.
Thanks, Coach.
Anytime.
Appreciate it.
What I tell you, another open gate. Come on.
Brooks, what's up, buddy?
What's up, man? Great to see you.
Great to see you. Thanks, man. Thanks for having us.
Of course.
Wow, what an impressive space. Take me through all this.
Yeah, so this is our player lounge. The guys moved in here last January, so it's part of our renovation that we did last year with the player development facility. So this is the existing locker room and lounge space from before. So where we're standing was actually the staff locker room, and you had the pro locker room behind that wall there.
Okay.
And a big emphasis, we want to create a bigger space for the players, a place that was their home, something they could hang out in. And I think we achieved that objective. Got obviously plenty of space for the whole team. It was about 25% the size of this before, and you'd find the whole team kind of crammed up in there and guys sitting on top of each other. So they have a little bit more space. I think they've got plenty of big enough screen that
can
they
get some stuff done up
they
here.
can get a few things on there. So they can go 4 games at once or one big TV as well. And I'm sure it wouldn't surprise you, but some pretty crazy games of Fortnite to get thrown up on that
could see
screen
that.
too.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a great space for them. They love it. I mean, it's one of those things where there's very few times in the year where you pass through and there's not a couple guys in here hanging out with their eating or just whether it's before training or after training, but it's a space they definitely love.
Love it. Wow, this is impressive. Okay, take me through all this. Take me through this whole room.
Yeah, there were a few things that were, I would say, our main objectives when we redid the space. The shape of it didn't change a whole lot, but we wanted to have a very professional, clean look to it. I think that that was probably the biggest point of emphasis. Obviously, we added the ceiling graphic and some different lighting options, which the guys like quite a bit. But just the ability to put in a few more lockers when we gain the space with the lounge and enable us to do a few different things. We wanted it to be a nice open space. New lockers for the guys and enable them to have some different drawers and storage options, a place to place their travel bags and those type of things. Those were important to us. But everything we do here, I think when it comes down to facilities, you want it to be a place the players are proud of, that they want to spend time at, that they're not just coming down here to change and head up to the field and head home.
Right.
And I think that's what, the locker room and the lounge, when you set out to do a project like that, I think that's what you want, is for the guys to never want to leave. And that's certainly what we've got here.
Okay, this has been fantastic. Do you got some time to take us around the player development facility a little bit?
Would love to. Let's go check it out.
Let's do it. Oh, wow. Okay, talk us through all this.
So this is our MLB hallway, and to get up on this wall, you have to either have been drafted in the first round or have made an appearance in the big leagues. So Kyle Wright was our last guy that was able to do both of those, but you'll see some familiar faces up there. Obviously got Dansby from when he went 1-1 with the Diamondbacks, Carson Fulmer, Dodger star Walker Buehler. We got Jeremy Sowers. He was the first one, made it to the big leagues with the Indians. He was on the 2004 regional team in Corb's second season. And then obviously World Series champion David Price from his time 10 years ago when he punched the Rays ticket to get to the World Series against the Red Sox and then winning a World Series with the Red Sox. It's a pretty neat thing for him, obviously, but pretty impressive wall and a great way to honor these guys.
Sure.
So you got the All-American wall here. First team All-Americans in the gold bats, second and third team on the wall.
Okay.
Just got some program facts back here. So this wall used to be in the old team classroom. When that got moved into this building, we put this in the hallway just so it's more of a centerpiece for guests and donors and recruits to be able to take a look at when they tour the facility.
Now this area hits home for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. We had to have a Team USA wall, so USA baseball is certainly near and dear to my heart, but a really cool thing to be able to celebrate our guys who have worn the red, white, and blue, that played for the collegiate national team. Coach Corbin, two-time alumni, that coached for the collegiate national team. He led that 2006 team to a gold medal that actually had Price, Alvarez, and I believe Casey Weathers were all on that club. So Patrick Gravy was our last guy. He's a senior for us right now. He pitched on college team in 2017, and obviously hope to have more Vandy boys in the future on that wall.
Well, man, this has been off the charts. Appreciate the hospitality,
Of course,
bros.
man. Anytime. You're always welcome here.
Thank you, sir. I think I got a little something for Coach Corbin down on the field. I'm gonna take off.
All right. Enjoy
Thanks,
it.
man.
Yep, see ya.
Appreciate it.
A young person that was really wanting to involve himself in coaching and start
Sure.
to understand how to put an organization together. And I think going to Clemson, that was where I first started understanding that. You have to find some enjoyment in doing other things that involve baseball, but involve the growth of the kids that are playing it.
We couldn't leave Nashville and not take advantage of having one of the most heralded college baseball coaches in the country at our fingertips. A member of the ABCA Board of Directors, winning has seemed to follow Corbs wherever he has landed, and Vanderbilt has been no exception to that. Let's take our last trip on this tour around the bases with Commodore skipper Tim Corbin.
back on the field with Coach Corbin. I want to take a tour around the bases. You want to go for one with me?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go for a walk. So getting out of the box here, something I'm really interested in is your growth as a leader. Can you take us back to who that young Tim Corbin was, and especially as you've grown throughout your career?
Well, I mean, I think that the person prior to coming to Clemson was just a young person that was really wanting to involve himself in coaching and start to understand how to put an organization together. And I think going to Clemson, that was where I first started understanding that. And Jack Leggett had a lot to do with that. I can't thank him enough for the development that he instilled in me and the lessons that I learned from him. And then coming here, once you take on something that becomes your responsibility, then it's different. That chair is a little bit different. It's a little bit hotter. And I think even at a young age, that's 17 years ago, I think it's just something that you're learning with each experience that goes by.
Oh my gosh, okay. Taking me into some important lessons. That's always, when you think about maybe aha moments or big moments in your development, what would you point to? What jumps off?
I think 2007 regional, when we had a really good team. We were ranked #1 in the country for about 14 straight weeks. We lost to Michigan on a walk-off home run, so that it eliminated our chances of going to Omaha. And that team was predicted to go to Omaha, but you know what predictions mean. But I just remember Maggie and I went to breakfast with Coach Winkin, the old coach at Maine, and he was the NCAA rep. And I asked him a question. I said, what'd you think? And he said, well, I could tell you, I knew you guys were going to lose.
Wow.
I thought you were too tight. And because you were too tight, your team was uptight.
Wow.
It made some sense to me, and I had some clarity to why that was the case. So I felt like if we could ever get there again, I'd handle that situation a little bit differently. But I think first and foremost was, after the years that we would come close, the years where you'd lose in a regional or super regional, I think that's when my wife, thank goodness, brought to light that, hey, listen, if you're just going to be chasing this last game every year and you're going to, 2 or 3 weeks after you're going to be in the doldrums, then you're just going to die a very disappointed man. You're going to have to find some fulfillment in doing some other things. So I think that's when it really set in that she's right. You have to find some enjoyment in doing other things that involve baseball, but involve the growth of the kids that are playing it and the ones that you're involved with. And I know how much you and I talk about relationships, but that's really where it's kind of moved towards more than anything else, and just the development of the guys themselves.
Gosh, have you found that fulfillment in the relationship end?
Oh, sure. I mean, I think we always did, but you just don't realize it. I think when you're younger, especially when you're beginning a program, you're just trying to get it afloat.
That's right.
And what's important in your mind is that scoreboard, because that's going to dictate your longevity in the position that you have, particularly in our conference.
Sure.
So I think that was first and foremost, is just getting competitive. But I think then once you start to get competitive and you start to build an organization to your liking, then you can start to accent on the relationships that are involved inside the program.
Dial those up.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So taking our lead through here, if I'm looking at someone that encompasses the spirit of lifelong learning, that's you. And I think we both understand that in order to gain growth, we got to get uncomfortable. So have you always had that spirit? Is that something that's been ingrained in you from the start?
I mean, I think so. I'm curious. I'm just curious on how things work, and curious on how people work, teachers and coaches that I've been around before, and trying to watch them function and see how they communicate with their teams and their adults. So that's been important. And I think going back to Clemson, I think that's why that situation, learning under Jack, was so inspirational in so many different ways, because I was just on to everything that he was doing. I was taking it in. And there, in the 9 years that I was there, it didn't matter if it was something that he had spoken about 3, 4, 5, 6 different times. I always heard something a little bit different.
Right.
But he was one of those guys that were put in your life that inspired the thought of continuing to learn. And then along that way, we've talked about Bruce Brown before. He's been a tremendous mentor for me personally, because he really helped me gravitate towards the character piece of teaching and working with young kids. And I now, when I heard him for the first time, Sheets, I mean, he just drew me in.
Game changer.
And it connected the dots for me in terms of how you can get guys to think and operate in a certain way. And Don Meyer, who was here in town, he was a Lipscomb basketball coach, then worked for Northern State. Had such a great relationship with him, but he brought to life the classroom. And even though we were using it, we started to use it in different ways once I got around him, and that was back in 2003. So Don's no longer around. Thank goodness Bruce is, and Jack, of course, is, and still talk to those two guys quite a bit.
Okay. We can dig a little bit deeper on some details. How do you seek out these opportunities to, in essence, challenge yourself? That's what we talk about a lot at the ABCA. How can we challenge ourselves to learn and grow and get better? How do you seek out those opportunities? Are there daily habits? Are there mentors, mentoring? Are there things like that really push you in that direction?
Well, I just think that for the betterment of my own development, because for the betterment of my development is going to increase the development of the players that you're teaching.
Wow.
And if I don't move myself, I'm not going to be able to move them in the direction that I think is where the experience is going to grow them.
Right.
And I've always felt like it's competitive to me. I mean, I think, when you're a teacher and you're a coach, it's always staying ahead. It's trying to stay ahead with their learning, how they learn, what they listen to, what's important to them. And then you have a young battery of coaches that are very good, and they push the level too. There's some outstanding young coaches out there that communicate and talk in a different way, and I want to understand why they think that way and why they teach that way and how they're doing it. It's all applicable to what I'm doing. So
yeah, when you catch yourself in those moments that somebody's presenting something to you that's different, you catch yourself in quote unquote being uncomfortable.
I don't mind being uncomfortable. I don't mind being wrong.
You embrace it?
Yeah, well, I think you have to.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to. I mean, self-preservation of your ego, but I don't think it matters. Once you get to the point, if you really want to make your guys better, then I think you have to investigate things that are put in front of you that could change the thinking and the direction of how you're teaching. So it's all important.
So you mentioned, as we were heading to first, a turning point in your career where relationships became your primary focus, and Maggie having a lot to do with that. If a young coach is watching this and they're paying attention, how would you really direct them right now to really shift their focus and keep it solely on the players?
When you're coaching and teaching, I think a lot of times we assume that when we're communicating with the players that they're listening to us.
Right.
And I think in a lot of ways they are. They're listening to you respectively, but I don't always think, Sheets, that they're digesting the information.
Okay.
Because I think what they're doing, at least initially, is feeling you out. And the reason they're feeling you out is because there's a trust element to teaching and coaching that has to exist in order for that person to take on that information, use it, apply it, digest it, and then move forward. So the only way that can be drawn from is by building a relationship with a young man that might not be based on, it might not have anything to do with baseball.
Right.
It may have more in line with him as a person and asking questions and generating thought that has nothing to do with baseball at all, in order to get to that point where you can start teaching and applying thoughts to his growth.
Okay. Any relationship that's worth anything is built on trust. How would a young coach really exhibit and go about building trust within his own players?
Well, it's just taking the time to communicate.
Okay.
And I think communication is not so much me talking to you, but a lot of it's listening.
Yes.
A lot of it's presenting questions in which someone can share with you and start to share their life. Because I think for a lot of guys, it's sharing intimately their life and who they are is not the easiest thing in the world, and maybe no one's ever asked them to do that before.
Sure.
So I just think opening yourself up to someone where they can open up to you and stimulate the thoughts of who they are, why they are who they are, what their family is all about, and where they come from, and what makes them tick. And I think that what makes them tick goes a long way in trying to understand how to how to teach and how to work with them.
Being a great communicator, how have you grown in that space? Because that's certainly figuring out your language and the way you can reach people. That's a growth opportunity as well.
It is. I'm not going to say I'm great at it. Where I've felt comfortable is just from the social aspect of being able to communicate with other people, especially kids, because I think we're all kids at heart, but I really feel like I'm a kid at heart. When I go out or we go out, I gravitate more towards the kids. I don't know, that's probably not a compliment, but I do. I gravitate more towards younger people because I feel like what they're talking about, what they're laughing about is more on my level.
So you catch us here in the home stretch here, Corbs. I'm interested, and we ask our coaches this a lot, the word success. How do you define that?
Oh, I think at this point it's just about building an organization and a situation where everyone inside of it grows and there's development going on. And I think not development just limited to the players. I think you're talking about development of the staff, and you're going to lose players through graduation, through the draft, and they're going to move forward. But I think your staff has goals too, and they want to reach those. So I think when you look at success of anything that you're doing, particularly our program, just look at the people inside of it and helping them attain the goals, personal goals that they want to get to. But I think more than anything is helping each person develop as much as possible.
Wow, I love the word goals. So let's go into this. I'm thinking about Vanderbilt. You mentioned the players, the staff. What are the goals for this program?
I just think to keep it moving in the direction that it is. I mean, we've experienced a wealth of great relationships, and there's been some success, but at the same time, every year that we've been here, it's been stimulated by the people, the players, the coaches, and we just want to continue moving it in that direction. You have to throw yourself into it, and you just have to enjoy the moments that you're involved in it. And I do. I don't take any of this for granted. We've talked about that before. I don't take any day or any relationship or any part of it for granted for 1 second. So I just want to keep moving forward with the kids and just try to continue building it.
Okay, Corbs, I'm going to make you uncomfortable. Ask you about your personal goals. When you think about coaching, you had so much success on the diamond, but when you think about where can you go from here, what do you get?
I just think to just increase my personal health. I think health is everything when you're trying to create energy for yourself so that you can create energy for your program. And I think that's ultimately the most important thing. If you don't have your health, you can't teach, and you can't help the kids. So I think more than anything, it's just taking care of yourself, taking care of your own relationship at home, so you can get to the point where you can inspire the kids. But I don't want to minimize that, because I think it's ultimately the most important thing. And after that, I think things take care of themselves.
I love it.
Yeah.
You've been more than gracious showing us this great facility, obviously what's inside your player development facility. Thanks for taking time with us. Anytime we can spend with one of our board of directors is always a great time. So
I appreciate it.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
Thanks, Corbin.
Yep.
With a very full heart, we packed up our bags and we started the journey back to Greensboro, bringing the road show to our coaches, entering their stomping grounds to see their facilities up close, find out even more about the special people that make our association great, and talk a little baseball along the way. Until our next trip, we ask that you keep learning, keep growing, keep challenging yourself inside this game. We wish you and your club the very best, and thank you for what you're doing for the game of baseball. We've enjoyed having each of you on the tour bus with us, and we hope to see you one day on the road show.